Okay, for this how-to, we are going to learn how to make a corner hammock. What we need for a corner hammock is a piece of fleece cut in a square, and just make sure that you fold it over into a triangle and make sure that the corners line up right, otherwise it's going to be kind of wonky. And we're also going to need 3 little strips of fleece. Make sure that when you tug on them, they don't stretch funny. I'll show you. Whenever you stretch on it, it shouldn't look like this. It shouldn't turn into like a tube when you stretch on it. What it should do is hold its integrity and just stretch a teeny bit. You'll have more of a problem with this with anti-pill fleece than you will with a blizzard fleece. Anti-pills do stretch a lot more, but you won't have any problems with an anti-pill. It's just you can see it a lot easier on anti-pill fleece. So you'll need 3 little strips, probably like 2 inches long by a little more than a 1/2 inch wide, so that you can double them up. This is what we're going to use as loops so that we can hang this corner hammock up. So basically what we want to do is, as you can see, there is a darker side and a lighter side on this print. Well, I don't know if you can see it, but this side, the whale, is obviously red. This side, kind of a pale red. So what we're going to do is take the nice color and put it on the inside. Make sure that all your corners are lining up nicely. What we're going to do is take these. This is really basic. Take these little strips that you cut and loop them over. Again, this isn't like an exact science, so whatever size hammock you want, just measure it out, check it out, and see if it'll fit in your cage. Just take it doubled up to your cage and see if it'll fit in there whenever you cut it out. If it doesn't fit, try again. Just, if it's too big, just cut it down a little bit. Kind of cut this one crazy, so I'll cut that off real quick. Okay, we want to tuck one of those in this corner, one in this corner, and one in this corner. Real simple. Just tuck it in sideways. It doesn't have to be all the way to the edge. The edge usually on mine kind of hangs off a little bit, but they're my gliders, and my gliders aren't picky. Neither am I. So, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist when it comes to my crafts, but there's no reason to be a perfectionist about a triangle. And what we're going to do when we're sewing this is sew along this outside edge, but we're not going to sew all the way. What we're going to do is start on the edge, sew a little ways, maybe like halfway up this edge, skip about 1.5 inches, and then sew all the way around so that we leave a gap. When I'm sewing, I'll sew to here, I'll back stitch for 3 stitches, and then I'll let up and come forward about 1.5 inches. Stitch 3, back 3, and then go all the way around. You'll see whenever I'm actually sewing it. My sewing machine's really loud, and I know it probably needs to be cleaned because it's kind of funky right now. But we will try it out, and sorry about the sound. Okay, I'm going to start with the corner. The corners are kind of hard to get sometimes, so set your needle as close as you can get it to the corner. And you'll want to stitch a couple times forward and then go back to the edge. There we go. And now just start as normal. When you get to a pin, take it out. Don't go over pins, your needles won't like that. Okay, we're about halfway down this line. Well, a little less than halfway, but close enough. And I'm going to back stitch a couple, go forward a couple, and then take up my needle. Now, I'm not going to cut it or anything like that. I'm just going to scoot it up a couple like an inch and a half, so that I can see that I have a good gap for turning this thing inside out. Put my needle back down, stitch 2, go back 2, and now sew all the way around. Whenever I'm back stitching, I'm just doing that. It's mostly for safety so that your stitching doesn't come undone. It kind of knots it off. You're going to cut your threads as close as they'll get to the fabric there. You don't want to cut your fabric, be careful. Now you can see there's that little bit of string that we kind of left there when we skipped that gap. So we're going to cut that off. Cut it on both sides there. It's on the back side and the front side. So cut it there. Now what we're going to do is cut that corner blunt so that it looks straight right there. And we're also going to, you see that tabby? We're going to cut that off too. So 3 flat corners and all of your tabs off. Here, here, and here. Now we've got this hole where we skipped that little bit, and we're going to turn it inside out. So grab your furthest corner, push it through, and push it through the inside, and then pull your fleece through. Boop. There we go. Now make sure that when you turn it inside out, you want to kind of get your fingers into those corners so that they'll be pointy and not funky around. So pull out the little tabs, make sure that they're looking good. You want to make sure that they're in there real tight so that you don't have any holes or anything. Make sure you run your fingers across. Okay. Now here we have this little hole. Now what do we do about this little hole? Well, we can hand stitch it if we feel good enough about our hand stitching. I say this in all my videos. I'm not comfortable with my hand stitching. My sewing machine is a lot better at stitching than I am, and I feel as though my stitching is very tight on my sewing machine, and it sinks way down into this fleece, so no little toes are going to get caught on it. Now still, you want to check it every day to make sure that your gliders haven't dug it up or done something crazy with it, because we have crazy gliders and that's what they do. So make sure that you don't want your edging sticking out like this. You want to poke it in and make sure that it looks flush. And we're going to sew from this to this with our sewing machine or by hand if that's how you feel comfortable. So I'm going to sew from here to here with my sewing machine. Whenever you start, stitch 2, go back 2, and then start, and then stitch back and forth 1. Okay? It just ties off the edges, it makes it last longer, and it makes your stitching have more integrity so that if there is some pulling, some tugging, it's not going to come out. If you want to pin it on the edges so that you can see where the edges are, you can do that as well, but I've gotten pretty good at seeing where my edges are now. So we'll just sew that up real quick. And there you have it. There is a corner hammock for you. Make sure that you cut your thread really close to the fabric so that you don't see any seam here. See how close it is? You can't see anything but just that indentation. You don't see any of the string. You can't get your toes caught in here. Okay, so now you have your corner hammock. You can take your favorite attachment, stick it in these little loops. If you use C-links, stick your C-links in there. If you use lanyard clips, your lanyard clips in here, whatever you use. And now you have a beautiful little corner hammock.